There isn't a recorder, or you've taken care of the recording?
You're all set.
All right. So you will call the meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission for the City of Green Bay to order for Monday, June 12th, 2017. It's 4:16 p.m. Members present: Dennis Doucette.
Nick of time?
Janine Mead, Patty Olson, Dave Boyce, and Roger Retzlaff. Oh, and Susan Lee is just coming in. For others attending the meeting, there is a sign-up sheet going around, so if you would sign that. Printing would be helpful. Provide the information requested. Next, first item of business is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any corrections? Alterations? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Janine to approve, second by Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, that passes. No communications, old business, consideration of possible action on a building permit application for front porch replacement at 1208 South Monroe Avenue. Is there a representative of that property here? You want to step to the table and describe your project, please?
I submitted pictures, description. It's replacing the old wooden stoop that's not consistent with the original design of the house and replacing it with a concrete stoop that is.
Okay. So you don't have any historical photos?
No.
And how will the railing be consistent with the original design?
Wrought iron railing is a design feature of the house internally, and it was a design feature of the original porch, as I understand it.
Okay.
In fact, there's stain marks from the old iron railing on the bricks of the front house. So.
Okay. The configuration, appearance of it will be historically consistent? And there's no documentation that demonstrates that here.
There's wrought iron inside the house. There's a balcony overlooking the cathedral living room. And Valley said that they can come pretty close to that.
Are there any other questions from members of the commission?
No.
Was the original porch like a concrete?
It was, from what I remember, it was a combination of cinder block, but not a cinder block design I've ever. It's not a contemporary cinder block, but it was a combination of block and concrete. And it was just deteriorated beyond repair. This was 30 years ago.
So you never saw the original porch, but you come across it when it had the wood porch first time?
No, the wooden porch was put in shortly after I moved in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think there's some finishes that you can apply to another step that would pretty much simulate the original too. So it sounds like acceptable to me. If you looked into that, there might be some little thing,
Right.
you know, get the color back or something.
Yeah. It's, yeah, Valley said they have another number of options like that that we can look into.
Sounds good.
So when you first moved in, were you the owner at that time?
When I first moved in, I was actually leasing. It was more of a live-in situation for the people that owned the house. They hadn't been able to sell it, so I was more or less house sitting for them. There was a number of things that were done at the time.
Anybody else?
Pretty straightforward. Looks better than the old one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a design that's pretty consistent with a lot of the houses that have had to replace their stoops on that street.
So staff recommendation is for approval of the proposed changes. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by David Boyce to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Patty Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
I will vote no, only because of the lack of documentation that shows what the work will really look like when it's done. So. Any abstentions? Okay. So we have our 6-4, 1 against. Okay, you're approved, thanks.
Thank you.
New business? Consideration of possible action on a building permit application for a new garage at 826 Quincy Street. Is there a representative present?
John Hogan.
I'm sorry?
John Hogan,
Okay.
owner.
And you did sign up on the, you put your name down on the
Yes.
sign? Could you describe your project, please?
Well, it's actually not a new garage. The existing garage, did you?
Yep, they have all these in the
Okay, you
packet.
have it, okay.
It's about half of them, but not the original drawings.
Yeah, I brought original plans from when the home was built, and it was an attached garage at the time. And some of the copies you have are just reduced copies of what I have here. These are full-size prints. What I would like to do is add a 14-foot addition, basically another stall and a partial to the west side of the garage, and then restore the garage to the original look on the plans you have in front of you there with the balcony. The prior owner put a wooden deck on top of the garage and put some columns around the corners, and it wasn't sealed properly, so the rubber roof has been leaking. So that kind of prompted the whole process. With obtaining these plans a year and a half ago or so, the Bernard Schober actually designed the house, and this was one of the homes that was on the display in the Neville, back when it was on a year and a half ago. So my wife and I decided, well, let's restore the look to original, being that that deck had to come off anyway. So that's what our desire is, replace the doors. It's a standard overhead garage door. We want to go back to, it'd be an overhead door, but the appearance would be more of what the original design was. And then again, the balcony would still be a retained balcony on top. It would just be the railings and balusters would all be made the same as what the original plan was, other than the 14-foot addition.
Okay. So my guess is that the original balustrade will not meet current code compliance for the height of a guard.
Right.
So,
And obviously, we would adapt for that.
so you're going to raise the...
Correct. Yeah, it'll meet code. It's just we want to go with the similar appearance, as close as we can.
And where will the, so you have a mark here of 50 feet from the, can't tell what direction it is, but from the face of the,
Yeah,
face
the
of
house.
garage.
Yeah,
to-
you're right, is the west.
Okay, so this is the west facade,
Correct.
and it's 50 feet to what?
The back lot line
Okay.
of the property.
Okay, and then so you're gonna add your
Right, a
third stall?
Correct. Same
Off
depth,
to the
just
west.
14 feet wider. And then the approach would, the driveway would come up as well. Excuse me. There's also, I don't recall if that, any of those plans show, but on the south side of the house was originally a porch, and it was enclosed since the original design.
Okay,
It's got cedar siding on it. We want to go back to stucco on that, or stucco that I should say. Eliminate the siding and go to stucco because the rest of the home is stuccos.
so this request is for future work, or is it, do you plan to do it currently?
Well, once the permits and, we can get the work started, anticipating into the fall before we actually get started.
Okay, so the permits will come out, be applied for at a later date?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the commission?
I really don't think there's, I don't have a problem with it. The garage is on the back of the house, you don't see from Quincy, and I'm pretty sure I was in this house, and I remember that deck up over the garage,
Yeah.
that was a little punky.
Yeah, and they must, I know they redid it, the prior owner redid it, I'm not sure when, 07, 08, something like that, and that's a guess, I'm not sure. But it was a solid deck, it's just that the roofing underneath wasn't done correctly, so there was some leaking,
Yeah.
so.
Anything else? Staff has recommended approval. He has a note to verify that the rooftop newel parapet will visually separate new construction from original. Okay, have you discussed this with our staff person at all?
No.
Okay. Jason, would you mind explaining?
Well, I don't know what the current garage looks like. And short of trespassing, I'm not going to find out either. My presumption was that the original two-stall garage was present and that the balustrade and parapet wall were also present. My concern would be that if you were to add a third stall, that you might be tempted to get rid of the original balustrade and parapet bit here. What I'm hearing now is that that's already
It's
gone.
not there, correct, it's gone.
So
Yeah,
it
what
becomes a
was-
moot point, really.
Correct. It was redone and the original balustrade is gone. They put in they did a decent job on it. They put in some wrought iron railing between some columns that they had constructed. In other words, the original bump out from the house is there, and then about halfway down, they put a column, and then on the corners, they redid the columns. But they're not the original stucco columns. So that's all been, and my understanding was the garage was leaking for years, and then there was a lot of rot, so they had to redo most of it when they reconstructed.
Does the current garage, short of the stuff up here, still look about the same?
Correct, other than the garage doors, it looks, and again, up above is different because of they changed the railing on the top.
So the third stall will be further separated from the middle stall because of this
Correct.
thickness here. My suggestion is that you maintain some sort of stucco separation up here rather than
Okay.
just running a balustrade or a newel post right there, that you show visually that, yes, this was a break.
And actually, that was something we discussed as well. Like, I wanted to see what would be allowed and what wouldn't be allowed, but that was what we had talked about, is,
You mean with your contract?
yes, going with the same appearance and then having the stall added. And then we can duplicate that design.
Really quickly, the only other thing I want to point out, of course, is that this is on the agenda as a new garage, which is fine. That means, though, that whatever you're discussing here doesn't really apply to any proposed porch changes at some future date.
And again, it was just to redo the siding
So-
versus, go to stucco over siding. The porch is already there, it's just changing the outside, the exterior.
Right, but we haven't looked at that or,
Okay. And my contractor said he was I thought it was on, restore the original appearance of the home, I thought it was.
That's
Yeah.
not what was transmitted to us.
And finish its very home to original, what it said, yeah.
Now we need to go look at it. The picture I have here doesn't show me much, except that there's some sort of clapboard siding that is enclosed to the original porch.
Correct.
So I don't know, if you want, we can discuss that as well, but it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
I don't know how much you want to stick to that, or... You just grab this and pass it.
Okay. Yep.
Susan? That's the house. That's the house.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. So, everybody's okay with this?
Sure.
So what I would recommend is a motion to approve the addition to the garage of the building. And an agreement with the concept of replacing the existing porch siding with stucco to match the remainder of the house. As a motion to approve this project. Is someone willing to make that motion? You want to be the first?
Make a motion to approve their garage.
Okay, so moved by Dennis.
826 Quincy Street.
In accordance with recommended wording of the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. So this is for a future, I'll list this in the information that goes to the building department.
Okay.
But they'll have that on record for when it comes for the
Very
permit. Just a request that when you finish the work, you send us photographs so we can put them on file. It's a
Absolutely.
good example of the restoration work and commission work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What's the date of the original plans, just curious?
Pardon me?
What are the date of the?
1923.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, we actually got the display plaque from the museum. We talked to the curator and he said, yeah, you can have it, so we got it at home. Then I bought the plans, we got a couple copies, so.
It's
We
really
like old homes, that's why we moved to the neighborhood, so we want to make it a little more like an original look, so.
That's wonderful.
All right, thanks a lot.
Next item, review the reports, review the May 2017 building activity report. Any comments? Jason, you don't have a picture of the 7-Eleven South Oakland house, do you?
Not handy, but I can open it up at the speed of this machine. the one with the, I think it's yellow window casings in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it needs 3 rooms.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Moved by Janine,
Second?
second by Susan. All in favor? Opposed, abstaining? That passes. Item 4, review city raise and repair orders and demolitions. So we have one. For 1601 Amy Street. Nope, there's also one at 855 South Ridge Road. Any questions about those properties?
I think that Amy Street is the garage.
Yep, the garage.
Garage there.
There are no questions or comments. Is there a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Moved by Susan, seconded by David. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Thank you. Item 5, staff project updates.
I have a, called a draft of the historic preservation revolving loan fund material portion of it. It should help combat insomnia. Very briefly, what I put together there is an inexpensive brochure with some of the highlights. And then a procedures manual, which goes over a little more detail of the information in the brochure. And as you may recall, there was a capitalization of $100,000 from excess stadium tax revenue. And with the proposed loan program, we should be able to make one loan of $10,000 every 6 months in perpetuity, provided, of course, that the loan applicant, recipient actually repays their loans on time. This is a maximum loan amount of $10,000. I think it's a 10-year term, 2% rate, which is a fair bit less than market rate. That's the main highlights of the procedures manual.
Pretty attractive.
The application itself is in 2 parts. There's one that says the short application form at the top. It's double-sided in what I've given to you, but not what I kept for myself. That short application accompanies one or the other of the next 2 items. The next 2 items, one of them has Wisconsin Historical Society at the top. This is the state tax credit application for homeowners. And the one after that has National Park Service imagery on it. And that's for commercial properties. And difference here, of course, there's one for houses, one for commercial buildings. For houses, you are eligible if you spend a minimum of $10,000 on improvements to your National Register Historic House. You are eligible for a 25% state tax credit. So if, for example, as the owner of a historic house, you spend that $10,000 and you're all approved and everything's great, when it comes time to do your Wisconsin income taxes, you deduct $2,500 from the bottom line. So I shouldn't have said deduct. You subtract it off. It's a full-on credit. It's not a deduction. So if you get that $2,500, it's not like, well, you actually get a percentage thereof. No. If you owe $5,000 to the state on income taxes, you subtract this off the bottom, $2,500. You actually just owe $2,500. So the purpose here in having this as part of the application is that the state homeowner bit will force the applicant to fill out the state forms and get them a little bit further along towards actually collecting on that tax credit. And rather than repeat information several times in one application, we can rely on the state form for a lot of the details that we would otherwise ask for ourselves.
Okay.
Now, in order to get that state tax credit, the homeowner would have to ensure that the work done is in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic rehabilitation. So that is then really a condition of our loan. We want to make sure this body has some review input to make sure that any changes being done with these loan funds are not going to damage the integrity of either the property or the district that it might be in. So that's a happy thing. That other bit there for commercial properties, there is no state tax, or I'm sorry, there's both a state and federal tax credit program for the income-producing properties, the commercial properties, whereas there's only a state tax credit for the homeowner side of things. So you'll find if you really look at these that the National Park Service questions are virtually identical to the Wisconsin Historical Society questions, but they're different forms. Not a big deal. On the homeowner side of things, if you spend that $10,000, it's 25% credit, that's great. On the income-producing side of things, it's not quite as clear-cut. You have to spend either, I forget what it is, either a minimum of $5,000 or the depreciated value of the property, amount equal to the depreciated value of the property. I'd have to reread that again. I got it in the package here. Anyway, it's laid out pretty clearly, but it's not as easy as just saying $10,000. Rather, you have to spend an amount greater than the adjusted basis value of the property or $5,000, whichever is higher. Great, so be it. As long as the applicant fills out all that paperwork, we'll have a good sense as to whether or not what they're proposing to do would meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, and to be able to assess the likelihood of that person collecting on the tax credits available to them. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yes.
The tax credit is higher than for the commercial property, you didn't mention that.
On the commercial side, I believe it's a 20% state plus a 20% federal for a combined total of 40%, which is to say if you spend $10,000 between the two government entities, you'd get $4,000 back as a credit. And this addresses a couple of things.
Been there.
These tax credit programs are underutilized within the city of Green Bay as compared to, say, De Pere or other nearby communities. So it encourages people to take advantage of that. It also helps to sell the CLG program, or the CLG compliant ordinance. One of the comments we heard in Astor was that the city wasn't willing to put up any money to assist homeowners with improving their properties in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards, that it was too big of a financial burden. This says that indeed the city is able to offer low-interest loans to help overcome that hurdle. In order to spend that $10,000, of course, that's another potential hurdle. You can bundle projects together. So what I mean there is that if you need a new furnace, and that furnace is going to cost you $5,000, well, you're not hitting that $10,000 mark. But the state lets you bundle things like a new furnace plus painting the exterior plus a roof or some other combination of things in order to hit that $10,000 threshold. So if a homeowner was perhaps looking at a new furnace this year and repainting in 2 years, this would perhaps help encourage them to just lump it all together so as to take advantage of that 25% tax credit. Makes that $10,000 expense look like $7,500 expense. And we get the privilege of reviewing that to make sure it's going to be in conformity with the Secretary of the Interior standards. It's a lot of win check marks on the boxes. But the program isn't necessarily ready to go. I don't know exactly who's going to administer it. I don't know how the money actually moves yet. We'll figure that out.
Okay. What would you like to do, for us to do as homework?
His homework, if you could read this and tell me if there are some omissions or changes that should be made. You know, you get familiarity fatigue as you look at something over and over, and perhaps something obvious has escaped
Okay.
my attention.
Is there some point, I think, you know, in concept, we can, as a group, probably approve or recommend this program to Common Council.
That's already been approved in principle, I suppose. It was identified as an approved use of the excess stadium tax funds. So I believe the capitalization is there. It's just been a matter of the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of making it.
So we don't need an ordinance that will
I don't think so.
authorize it, or?
I don't think
mean,
an
what-
ordinance,
I can't imagine so. We haven't needed to with any of the other projects that came out of this funding, so I think if we wanted to bring it forward as informational to show them how we're gonna work the project, that would be useful, but we don't have to get anything approved by them at this point.
How is the, how are the funds administered through the budget? The city budget? I guess
for the revolving loan fund.
so that they, you know, don't all of a sudden get moved to some other line item.
Government
Future
would do
budget.
that.
So, I'm just wondering, so.
How the
How do
revolving loan is.
how do you preserve the base funding for this and without?
Well, as a loan is made, it'll be repaid over the 10 years. And
Yeah, no,
We have other revolving loan funds that are set up.
okay,
We have our revolving loan, community development block grant funds for the revolving loan. We have $2 million in that. We have only about 200,000 that's remaining. We have 3 applications fighting over those remaining funds, and we have an asking for replenishment of that. But we have a regular system in place. It's there. We report out to the loan committee each month, and when we meet, and
but
it's
that's a
regular
federal
fund.
program that we apply for.
But I would imagine any of our other
So-
programs would be administered the same way.
Yeah, I think that we based this program off of the one that we do for the housing.
yeah, that's very similar to the HUD program.
Yep, and mine is a HUD program as well. Yep, so I would, and a lot of the information when I read it as well offered some of the same guidelines that we use through that program. So everything was very similar for us as staff to be able to illustrate.
No coincidence here.
It's much easier, yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, that's all up to you too, if you don't necessarily like a 2% raise and want to go to 3% or something. These are for the HPC to decide if you'd like to tinker with the numbers. What I have no control over is the $100,000 that's been set aside. That's a fixed value.
Where did the 2% come from?
It came from me. I wanted a number that would make it more appealing to a broader group of people. If it was on par with, you know, bank lending, then a person would be just as apt to go to a bank for the loan. And in that case, there isn't the oversight of making sure that changes made are in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. So it's a carrot and stick at the same time. It's a lower rate, more appealing.
It's a
but-
reasonable incentive. Well done, Jason, overall.
Hey, just happy to be here.
Okay, so we have our homework. Read the document,
This is really nice.
come back with
Really nice.
comments.
There's other boilerplate information that we don't control that would go with this. A very short description of the Secretary of the Interior standards. There's the lead paint information booklet. No, we don't control that. And then contractor standards from the Wisconsin Historical Society, and application instructions for those portions of the application that come from either the state or the federal side. And they're short, they're online, but we can put them together in the same folder to prospective applicants, just so they understand what we're looking at too.
And particularly the contractor standards.
Yeah. Yeah, it talks about repair of original stuff, replacement siding, exterior painting, the roof material, scrubbing things versus sandblasting things. Try to fix the windows, but if you can't, they should look like this, that sort of stuff. So nobody should be blindsided coming in saying, well, I want vinyl windows that are different sizes and stuff like that.
Well, without having read through it, I hope that, it's, someplace in here, we make it obvious to applicants that, or interested parties, that the purpose of this is also to raise the caliber of historic renovations so that our resources have a higher quality.
Pretty sure it's in there,
Okay,
but that might be a good catch too. Yeah.
so, some wording to that effect. Any other questions?
No?
Okay. Anything else, Jason?
No, just that Stephanie and I will be speaking later this week and working towards another discussion with Astor. I think the loan program is an important incentive to move the CLG compliant ordinance efforts forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea of when these funds would be available, this loan program?
I believe the funds are there now.
That's what I gathered, the funds were there, but I didn't know that administratively.
Administratively, the burden is on me, us, make it happen.
So if you have comments, email them to Jason, and we should be able to discuss it at the next meeting. And hopefully it will be implemented very soon.
This was really a great program from what I've seen, and coming from the perspective of somebody in real estate, I think this is really great.
Well, and for reference to a $10,000 loan at 2% over 10 years is a monthly payment of a little under $100. So it should be affordable to most people,
Yeah.
especially when you consider that you're getting that $2,500 tax credit to move.
To
So
boot, yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked that one with all 46 windows in. I wouldn't have covered it
So
all,
maybe-
but.
Susan, maybe you and Jason could write a little article for the Wisconsin
Yeah.
Realtors
Yeah.
newsletter. Yeah, or something, so.
Okay, thanks.
There are
The state.
other programs like this across the country, not many. I don't know of any in Wisconsin off the top of my head. Dubuque, Iowa, and Columbus, Georgia, and a handful of others anyway. I borrow a lot of information from those as well.
Yeah, nice sources, what the heck.
They're doing it, so.
That's what I'd be doing. Food for thought.
Stephanie, anything from you?
This was from Mary Haupt. This is on the last item, the Historic Preservation Awards.
Okay.
She said these were examples of awards that she has printed previously over the last few years. If we wanted to look the same, she would print them accordingly. And then if this is the list, or if there's any other changes, please let her know. So that was just information from her to see if she had everything accurately to be able to type up and get ready. But those were just examples. If you wanted to say something different or be, anything different, that would be up to
I'm
you.
here.
And if you want to just let her know in a return
Okay.
email, is fine.
I like the font.
Looks like there's 4
Question the address
properties.
on the watermark.
Let me double check that one.
Yeah, it would be on Washington rather than Broadway.
Wrong side of the river.
Oh, wow. Watermark, that's actually on Pine, I think is the
Pine, right.
address, yeah.
This would be the extended award, the award right here, just the,
No, that's what they get at the presentation.
oh, okay.
We would still do plaques. Or maybe we would ask them if they want a plaque to, place on the outside of theirs. Or outside of the building.
As an intermediate thing, we might be able to laminate this a little bit even, if we decide to do that, then that'd be an
I
option.
think they put them on
They
a,
put them on some nice.
On
paper.
a nice paper.
they put them on paper and on a plaque. It's usually on a wooden
Mhm.
thing. Isn't it? No?
No, it's just,
No.
Okay.
heavy,
Heavy
Heavy
stock.
stock.
Suitable for framing.
there you
Yeah.
go.
It is.
All right, and if there's
Yeah.
additional, so there's that the other one, the automobile gallery for 400, so we'll double check. There's a house repaint at 704 South Jackson, 161 North Oakland, and then the Watermark Building, I will confirm the address, the actual address for that. Does that look like
Yeah, that's.
those are all accurate and there's no additions to that? Okay, thank you very much.
We have a target date for the ceremony?
We were originally talking about tomorrow.
I thought Mark wanted to do it the last meeting of this month. I don't know if we can make that.
At the 20th?
For what? For these awards?
The presentation.
The
Yeah, it's
presentation.
scheduled for next Tuesday, the 20th.
That's
The
right,
reception's
yeah.
at 6:15. Letters are going out this week.
Okay.
Is the reception in the room we used to be in, is it 210?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 6:15?
Who's gonna have light refreshments, or like we did last time?
Yep, refreshments, mingling, gossip.
Oh, there's mingling involved.
Who's getting the refreshments?
Jason and the mayor's office.
Okay. So,
So we don't have to bring anything?
as Janine has in the past.
Feel free, you would feel so.
No, I did that too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
brought
Susan.
iced tea and
Right,
orange
right.
juice, and I think you brought cookies.
My experience has been that people hardly touch anything, maybe they take a small bottle of water,
Mhm.
so,
That's right, the water too.
Mhm.
yeah, and that's what
Couple of kids told them over there, we had some cracker snacks.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I had sent out a copy of the presentation with information that I have to date. If you have information beyond what's on there, that means I haven't received it.
Mhm.
Please send it to me.
I had sent my write-up to Mark in April.
Yes,
Did he? do
he
you need me
did
to
not
send
forward
you?
it to me, no.
Okay, I will send it to you.
Okay, anything else on the awards?
So this wouldn't say the automobile gallery, it would say Landry's Motors.
No.
No, these are
Okay.
not for this year. These are just
for pre-
examples.
Yeah, these are just from the previous
Oh, yeah,
years.
as-
And they would be in color, that's,
Yeah,
Oh,
they look much nicer than that.
Yeah.
Other,
all right. No more comments on the awards? We said
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's good.
So any agenda items for future meetings that someone leaves as no concern? Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 10th, 2017.
I won't be here.
Okay. So at July 10th, 2017, 4:15 PM, room 310 of City Hall. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Moved by Patty,
second.
seconded by Janine, all in favor?
Aye.
Outstanding meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.